Hello everyone, this is Vivian from My Spiritual GPS through Expansion Network. So we are now on our second episode regarding Ella Pitkin's story. So from the last episode, we knew that she went from no money at all to 120K in 90 days. And then what, right? Because I have treated thousands of people, especially business owners who are overwhelmed and stressed. And this is interesting because the pattern never changes until they're aware and conscious that they needed to change it.
That's correct.
So from panicking, not having anything, to now having 120K, it's very interesting because she called me and let's see what happens.
Once again, Vivian, I was in panic mode.
Yep, she was.
Only it was a different panic this
Okay.
time. Instead of being panicked that I couldn't pay my bills, that I
Yes.
didn't know what to do, how I was going to feed the children,
Yes.
this time I had money and I had landed an amazing new job where I was getting actually paid $30,000 a month. I made $30,000 a month from coming from nothing
Yes.
to this, the most money I've ever made. But now I was terrified of what was going to happen if I lose it. And that was my anxiety all day long. All I could think about is, I've got this great thing, but now what? What if I'm not good enough? What if they actually see me for who I am or what I am, that I'm nothing? What do I do?
So she called me again, right?
Yes.
She called me again and I said, I think you need to take a group class. I remember, right?
Yes.
It's called Energetic Boundaries in Making Money.
Yes, that is correct.
Because obviously I saw it in her that she doesn't have a lot of good boundaries, or the boundaries weren't quite intact. Okay? Because you learned this from the classes that there are 4 different boundaries. Our physical boundary, which relates a lot to our money, right? Survival and health. And then our emotional boundary, because if someone makes you feel guilty, and you mentioned this every time we talk,
Guilt
you
is a
have
big
this guilt trip from someone in your family sometimes, right? Or a lot of times.
Yes.
How do you share that with the audience? Like when you say you're guilty, like why do you feel guilty about making money even?
Well, you know, it's great to make money,
Yep.
but when you're always in this little box,
Yep.
that's where you're used to it, and that's what your family sees you as.
Yes.
And that kind of limits you right there. So my mother always said, I'm a secretary, this is how much you make, this is all that you're ever going to do, and nothing else. So when I started making a lot of money doing what I do, the credit restoration,
Right. Yeah.
right, exactly, my mother came and says, oh my God, you know, don't hurt these people, you're doing something wrong, maybe this is illegal, maybe. And I'm like,
my God.
oh no, what if these...
So it puts something in your head.
Right.
It's like a thought.
Exactly.
A little brainwashing, so to speak.
And it was more like a sore. It festered.
sore.
It
Okay.
festered and it got infected, and it just blossomed from this tiny little seed of doubt into full-blown anxiety and back.
Oh, that's
into
why you're
panic
always
mode.
in anxiety and panic mode, right?
Exactly.
And that's the third boundary is relational. Like, why would you sacrifice your relationship with your mother just because of money, right? You've heard of
Exactly.
that, right?
Right.
Yeah. So is it you're loving your mother less when you have more money? Like, what are the things that's coming up in your head?
You know, I think that might have come up in her head.
Oh, in her head.
It wasn't so much in my head. I was just afraid that, you know, if my mother says I'm doing something wrong, then I must be doing something wrong. This was a person of authority and somebody that I love, respect, and trust.
Yes.
So it didn't come with a filter. When she put these thoughts into my head, I didn't reject them out of hand, because if
Correct.
somebody else that I didn't know said something, I'd be like,
Yeah, but it's your
But-
mother. It's your own mother
Right.
who gave life to you.
exactly. So that
Yeah.
had a completely different meaning and value to me as a person.
Right.
And it made me feel like I was obviously not doing this right. You know, if I wasn't working 80 hours a week, and if I wasn't had my nose to the grindstone, then obviously, you know, this wasn't right. My mother said so.
It's a good or bad thing, right?
Right.
It becomes a good or bad, which made you give money again, a label, if it's good or bad, depending on where it's coming from and how you made it.
Exactly.
So, how many people do you think have that kind of judgment and criticism when it comes to money, right?
I think everybody does. I don't believe that there's a single person on this planet that doesn't have some sort of limiting belief or somebody who puts this poison in their mind.
Yep.
And the problem is that most people don't realize that there's people putting poison in their mind.
It's a program.
Until, you know, I mean, I didn't know it.
Way. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, once I learned how to look at it from a different angle, once that, you know, you showed me, why does it have to be an either or?
Yeah.
Why is it a lack of, or, you know, why can't you have both? Why? I was like, oh, wow.
And
What a thought.
most of
Great.
us live in that either or mentality instead of and also, right?
Exactly.
So, for example, love and money. Do you believe, Ella, remember during that time that you had this big amount, do you believe that you can actually have money and love at the same time?
That was a tough one, I have to admit, Vivian. It was difficult.
Yes, so the program is either or again.
Exactly.
Either love or money. So it's
Yes.
kind of like you can have a good love life, but you got to suffer with other things.
Yeah.
Is that
Exactly.
the conditioning that you've had?
Exactly. Exactly. And if you have a lot of money, then people either love you for your money, or it's not real, it's
lot of fear.
it's fake, it's superficial, because that's what rich people are. They're superficial. They don't have deep feelings. That's the kind of conditioning that I was working with. That came from my mother again.
She's such a
Love her.
special
I
person
know.
in your life. And I remember you told me you talk to her every day. You make
Yes.
sure you're okay and you're doing good, right? And
Yep.
she's doing good, correct? Yeah.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Every
Okay.
day we speak for at least an hour, and sometimes 2 or 3.
Okay. So would you say a majority of that is positive? Or a lot of the beware?
There's a lot of that beware stuff coming in. But you know, in the beginning,
Yes.
like I said, I didn't know it. But now that I'm aware of it, it doesn't bother me anymore. I can put a filter on it. And so now when she says those
Yes.
things, I go, yes, yes, Mom, thank you. And I put it in the trash where it belongs.
You're more neutral to her now. And you
Exactly.
can just love her for who she is.
Exactly.
So that's the side effect of you releasing all these judgments and criticisms. And it's not making her wrong, which I'm sure your relationship has improved a lot because of
You
that.
know, it's amazing. It actually has, because now I can speak to her, and I don't have that anxiety where I'm like, okay, I want to get off the phone, I want to do something else. Now I can actually give her the attention
Yes.
and the time that she needs.
Yeah.
And she gets to vent and do her things, and it doesn't go into my head. Only the things that I allow in
Yeah.
go in, and everything else goes to the side.
Right.
So that's been a huge improvement in our relationship,
Yeah.
as well as in my money-making abilities.
Exactly, right? So it actually improved your money flow also. Yeah.
did.
Because there's no pushing energy, right? You're not trying to push your mother away because that's also going to cause problems in your money flow. And the other thing is the spiritual boundary. So when you were growing up, did you grow up in some kind of a church or any religious affiliations? What was the thought that was coming up for you or that you learned about money?
No, not so much a religious affiliation, or we weren't very religious at all, no. But we came from a very poor family. My mother was divorced and had 2 small children to raise on her own.
Yeah.
So there was definitely always a lack of, and it was tough. So that's the thing that my mother learned. I mean, she was a war baby and grew up in Germany in the 1940s during Hitler.
Okay.
And, you know, it was a different mentality. It was a different time set. I mean, nobody had food. Nobody had anything. So my mother likes to squirrel everything away and never ever use it,
Never ever used it.
just
Okay.
in case.
So which part of that did you inherit?
All of it.
You mean you
did.
put things away?
I do. I buy these wonderful, beautiful things,
Yeah.
and then nobody's allowed to touch it or use
my
it.
God.
Even with food, it's the same thing. I buy wonderful, delicious stuff, but you're not allowed to eat it, and then I throw it away when it goes bad.
Oh, wow.
It's stupid.
It's a habit.
It's a habit, right?
Okay.
But
But
that's how it
somehow
is.
you haven't figured out, like, or your mom hasn't told you why she keeps those things?
Well, for her, it was just a lack of, she didn't have it. I mean, she didn't have it growing up. And then her husbands, both of them, my father and my sister's father, left her to raise two small children on her own.
Right.
And, you know, in the 60s and early 70s, times were different. It was very, very difficult for her. So, I mean, she squirreled everything away. And by doing that, I mean, she was able to amass, being able to buy a home
Yeah.
and put, you know, $500,000 in the bank for herself.
Good.
So, I mean, at retirement, she had her house paid for, she had her retirement, her
So
funds.
she did well.
She did. It
Yes.
worked for her.
It worked for her.
Right.
Okay. How does that feel to you if you have $500,000 and you've put it away? And are you going to be happy with that?
No, because what's the point? The whole point of having money and making money, and this I've just learned myself too, is not so that you put it away. I mean, otherwise it's the same as not having it. Because you're not using it, it's not
flow.
flowing.
Yeah, it
exactly.
doesn't flow.
It doesn't
Yeah.
flow. It's stuck, it's stagnant, and it doesn't grow. You can't do that. It has to
true.
continuously cycle through.
Right, exactly. Exciting, huh? So, if you don't mind sharing with us, somehow in the middle of you making the money, I remember when you attended the Energetic Boundaries class for making money, you were charging your clients a certain amount. How much was that again?
That's true, Vivian. When I first started with you, I charged $199 as a down payment and $99 a month.
Okay, and what kind of clients were you getting?
Terrible clients that didn't want to pay their bills. They were awful. I mean, they complained all the time. And
And I remember you had a hard time billing them as well.
yes.
Okay, what was going on through your mind and your heart? Like, why can you not bill them?
You know,
was the reason?
I just felt that they didn't have money. The reason why they came to me is because they had bad credit. They already had financial issues.
Right.
So they weren't able to afford my services, is what my belief was.
Okay.
And you asked me to raise my rates, and it took me months and months and months.
I told her to raise her rate to, how much did I say?
double at least.
Double at least, right? I said double the price and really help those who want to help themselves.
Yep.
Because do these people repeat the pattern?
Yes.
They repeat the
Yes.
pattern.
All the
So
time.
they fix their credit and then they
don't pay
they
their
don't
bills, and then they
again,
come
and then
back.
they come back again, right? And they can't pay again.
Yep.
And then tell me what happened. How did you go from whatever you were charging to doubling the amount?
Well, first I doubled it, and then I times it by 10.
Oh, first you doubled it.
So,
and,
yes.
and what was the feeling from the initial to doubling the amount?
You know, the amazing part was I was afraid that when I doubled my fees,
Yes.
I was going to lose my clients.
Okay.
That they
So
would
that was
not
the
be
fear.
able to pay, that they were going to say no thank you and
Yes.
walk out.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I didn't want to do it. But what I found when I actually did double my fees is that everybody goes, okay. there was no argument, none whatsoever.
So you had your own argument inside of you.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. The conflict starts, if you're a business owner, the conflict is inside of you. If you're not comfortable with your rates, people are not going to pay you. In the beginning, you were afraid, but you said it anyway with trembling voice, I'm sure.
Yep,
And a little bit of
exactly.
panic, right?
Yep, a lot.
And they said okay, and then you're
Right.
like, huh?
Well, I was afraid I was going to lose my clients.
Yes.
You told me not to worry because the amount that I was charging extra was going to make up for any clients that I actually did lose.
Yep.
And you were correct.
Yep.
Not only did it make up, but there was a surplus. And then I was so happy and excited that I went from charging $400 to $3,000, which everybody happily pays now.
Yeah. And how long did you get that courage and confidence to actually jump from doubling it to times, how much was that one? That's a lot, right? Times 10, yeah. Almost 10, yeah.
Yep. Exactly. Actually, once I got my toes in the water,
Yeah.
so to speak, there was no issue. Once I doubled it and I saw there was no problem, within 30 days I
Yeah,
upped
I
the
remember
rates
that, yeah.
again, and like I said, now I charge $3,000, and we're about to have another pay increase, and it's going to be $4,000 starting
Awesome.
next month.
How does it get better than
How
this?
does it? Exactly. So we're going to go from making 30 or 40,000
Oh,
to
wow.
100,000 here.
Right. Okay, so how did it feel going times 10 the amount of money you're making now within months, not years, not 90
Exactly.
days. We're talking every 30 days, you're like looking at your business, scaling it now,
Yes.
right? And what kind of people are you getting now?
I'm getting the most wonderful clients now. I mean, they have money, they're motivated. They actually do what I need to do
Uh-huh.
when they do it. So it works out fabulously. So I'm able to do my job in half the amount of time. I charge 10 times what I did before. So when you said with ease and grace and in flow,
Yep.
that's exactly what this is all about, with ease and grace and in flow.
Yes.
That's how I live my life now, and I don't stress and I don't struggle anymore.
Yeah, exciting, yeah.
Very.
Now, tell them about what we did in Sedona. So remember in
Oh, yes.
beginning of the year, because I know that a lot of you are thinking, is she real? Yes. If I pinch her a little bit,
Ow.
see she's
Ow.
real. So we invited Ella and a few business owners to go with us in Sedona. And I said, that place is magical. That's what I said, right?
Yes.
And then they're like, well, so far, whatever she's been telling us, if we follow it, it does work. Because spiritual laws, they are consistent. They never lie. Especially spiritual laws about money. Especially if we don't have any judgments and criticisms and any negative things associated with money, right? So we went to Sedona, and all I say is it's magical. But I don't know, you can ask her what happens, because when we look at 2019, so the previous year, and all the way to 2020, most people go driving their life with this old software. So I don't know if when you're driving, do you look this way when you're driving, right? You're not looking ahead, right? That's how it feels like when you're repeating your life over and over again every single year, and you're applying the old software to the new year. So, share with us what happened in Sedona.
Sedona was a truly magical experience. You're absolutely right. I have never experienced such profound change. And I don't know, I get goosebumps. Look at this. Just from talking about this, how much and how immense the change really was.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you know, somebody telling me about this, oh yeah, right, okay, whatever, you know, sure it was a nice place, but no, it's a truly magical place. Releasing the baggage of the past, and like you said,
We did the
upgrading,
decade.
right?
We did the decade.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's not just 1 year. We did 10 years. Of
Exactly,
upgrade,
right? It's absolutely amazing how much you have in there until you start going in there. I kind of look at it like this. If you have a garage where you keep your stuff, right? You keep putting another box in, and you push this one to the side and squish it down, and there's room for one more on top, right? And you find some other stuff. I don't know what to do with this. I'm just going to put it in the garage right now because I might need it again later.
Yeah.
That's the kind of things that we released in Sedona. All of that garbage that no longer served us, that we don't need.
Right.
You haven't picked it up. You don't need it. Now, once that stuff is gone, you've made space. And the
your
space
capacity goes up.
feels incredible. It feels amazing when all of a sudden you take a deep breath and you just feel light.
Right.
You feel like you could float away. It was really, I mean, a mind-altering experience. I've never felt anything like it, Vivian. It was amazing.
And share with them what self-care is about now. Do you even know what that is? What is self-care?
Yes.
Like, do you guys know what self-care is? So we read about it, right? So Ella, when she awakened, it was an emergency because she couldn't pay her bills. So then she went into discovery mode, which is she's discovering who she really is. Like, what is she capable of as a human, as a business owner, right? As a mother, as a daughter, right? So it's like all the facets of your life. It's touched with energy. It's all it is, right? It's energy. So you told me before, like, what is that self-care? Like, what do you mean by that?
Exactly. I had no idea. I had no idea. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I have two adorable children. And so you're always busy taking care of others. You have to take care of your husband.
Another
you have
program.
to, right, exactly. You have to take care of the kids. You have to go to school. You have to, there's so many things you have to do all of the time. You know, you make sure that other people have time to take care of themselves.
Yes.
But me,
Yeah.
I never
What about
once
you? Yeah.
thought about it. Not one time did it ever cross my mind that I take some time out, or did I go on a vacation, or did I take a weekend to myself. Never, ever, ever would
Yeah.
that have crossed my mind. Because being a good mother and a good wife means that you are there, a good daughter. You're there for your parents that are now aging and need extra help.
Right.
And my clients, of course. I mean, I had lots of clients that needed me all of the time. So I wasn't able to take any time.
Yeah.
But now I realize that if my batteries are down and I can't get up, how am I supposed to take care of the kids? Or
exactly.
how can you do anything of any value for anybody else if you can't even do it for yourself? And if you aren't worth it, if you don't feel that you're not worth it, how can anybody else have that impression of you? Obviously, then you aren't.
Yeah.
So that's how the ease, grace, and flow comes in.
Exactly.
The more you do for yourself, the easier things come. And that is so hard for me not to resist. It's so hard for me to sit back and take a deep breath and just
Just be.
be.
Just
Exactly.
Be. Right.
But now that I do this, now that I've learned this, as soon as I let go and say, okay, the universe is in charge, I have faith, within minutes, sometimes,
Yep.
it comes to me exactly what I need, how I needed it, with ease, in grace and in flow. I can't say that often enough, but it is so true. That
Right.
is the most profound statement you've ever said to me, Vivian.
Thank you. So grace, everyone, means love in action. But if you don't allow God to give you the time to deliver what you were asking for, and you think you have to do,
Yep.
and it still happens to you, right?
It does
It's,
every
it's,
now and
it's a
again.
pattern, right?
It's
Like, I got to do
ingrained.
something. It's like, why don't you just wait for God to deliver to you what you ask for instead
But
of
now,
doing?
what I can do, rather than trying to do stuff for other people, if I feel that need, I get to do something for me.
Yeah.
I can go for a hike. I can
Yeah,
go for a ride. I can do something, get a massage, whatever it is.
exactly.
And that fills my need to do something,
Yep. Yep, exactly.
but it's taking care of me
Yeah.
rather than somebody
Yeah.
else.
And you know, when I remember the times when I was broke myself, right? Because I remember the spiritual loss, right? So every time I felt like I did not have any battery and the bank account was low, I actually get a massage. So I receive, because
Yes.
money is a receiving issue. So then when I receive, like within minutes, hours, or the next day, I have another client. That's how fast it is, right? So resistance is the one that causes people a lot of pain.
Yes.
Always resistance, because you're resisting the flow, right? And I wanted to touch on what you said, serving everybody else. This came up actually this week, this term called servitude, meaning you are a servant and you are subject to someone's command. So what we're going to do is the next episode, we're going to expound a little bit about servitude, because even if you have very little, like 10%, 5%, 1%, sometimes these things cause micro leaks in your money flow because you're putting attention in other people that may no longer be a match to your vibrational frequency. That's the reason why you don't make the money that you deserve, that you're really worthy of. Do you remember that other company that you kept on tolerating? And I said, Ella, it's time to raise your rate, not 30K, but 50K a month. And she's like, but what if they fire me? And I'm like, well, I don't know if you're willing to receive all that for that kind of money, because it's not even commensurate to the efforts that you're putting in. And you had a lot of servitude back then.
Yes.
That's why you stayed.
Yes. This is
And was it amazing ride, or was it like you want to get out? I remember you're always calling me every day. He's like, Vivian, I'm stressed out, I'm panicking, right?
Yep. True story.
Servitude, okay?
Yes.
So yeah, it doesn't bring you up.
No, it
didn't.
doesn't. It doesn't. And no matter how much I thought that I was doing for it and trying to make my value to them so that they would love me more or think more highly of me somehow or give them more above and beyond,
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way.
Because you didn't value yourself then.
Exactly. I did not value myself.
Your time,
and
your energy.
yeah, it was
your
not worth it.
skills.
All of the time and the money that it cost me, at best, I broke even with everything else that I had to do.
Right. Exactly.
So when I actually had the courage to
Yes.
follow your advice and break that string and cut that cord, again, it went from one level to the next.
Yeah, because now you have
Right
some
there.
billionaire clients now.
Yep, exactly.
So how does that get better than that? So next episode, we're going to talk about servitude and how some of these things sometimes cause a lot of micro leaks. So until next time, my spiritual GPS through Expansion Network, and I will see you again next week.